So welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's program. This is, to make sure that you're in the right place, the Future of Lentil Systems in Nepal, workshop and expert perspectives on lentil production systems and potential opportunities. My name is Michael Weinraub. I'm a knowledge and learning specialist at USAID in Washington, DC. I work in the Bureau of Resilience and Food Security, and I'll be your moderator today. We've got a very full program, and which will include opening remarks, some whole group sessions, some breakout sessions, and a break in the middle. So my primary job is to help keep us going. So I'm very much looking forward to the day. Can we move to the next slide? Before we begin some of those opening remarks, I just want to share a little bit of guidance and some information about today's program. First of all, the entire program will be recorded and will be available after the two-day program has concluded. We invite you to leave your camera on in order to increase engagement and presence among all participants, but that's completely up to you. And of course, anytime you choose not to have your camera on, that's okay as well. The agenda and the entire program, as well as speaker profiles, can be found in the chat. Our production team at the Legume Lab will continue to add that to the chat. And you can see that right now at the bottom of the chat, as well as at the top of the chat. You can see that so that you can follow along. Your microphone will be muted for most of the time. In certain instances, just in order to keep the program running and to limit disruptions, but at certain points, especially in the breakout rooms, you will have the ability to speak. But I really want to encourage you to use the chat on the right side of your screen, or at the bottom of your screen is where you will open the chat. And that chat really, in a way, is the lifeline of our program today. It's where you can ask questions. It's where you can share comments. It's where you can engage with other participants. So I just really want to encourage everyone to use that chat. If you do need help, you can type your question or your request for support in the chat. And if you'd like to send a direct message to our production team, then you can look for the participant Legume Lab and send a direct message if you prefer to do that. On the right side of your screen right now, you'll see a black box that shows a gallery view, or it shows options for your view. You may find you can choose any view that works for you. And the view is available actually at the top of your Zoom window. The side-by-side gallery will enable you to see many of the other participants. So that is one recommended view. I think that's just about it. Again, if you're just joining us, I encourage you to write your name and your organization in the chat. And then two final announcements before I turn it over for opening remarks. The one, actually, they're both announcements to the speakers. First, I want to apologize if I say your name or your title incorrectly. Please correct me, because I would like to be accurate. And second, if you are a speaker and your address is longer than a few minutes, I will typically give you a 2-minute warning. I'll be a timer, and just so that you know when your allotted time is almost completed. So with that, I would like to turn the floor over to Mr. Jason Suk, the Economic Growth Officer Director in the USAID Nepal mission, who will provide some opening remarks. Mr. Suk, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. Respected Secretary, Dr. Govinda Prasad Sharma from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, scientists from national and international research and development organizations, and distinguished participants, namaste, and good evening, good morning to all of you. It's my great pleasure to be here with this diverse group of experts to take part in an important discussion on the future and growth of Nepal's agricultural economy. As we all know, the last 2 decades here in Nepal have been challenging ones, but by focusing our attention on the agriculture sector of Nepal and by unleashing its potential, the next 2 decades and the long-term future of the country hold tremendous promise. We all understand that agriculture is an important part of Nepal's economy and serves a critical role for the livelihoods of marginalized and vulnerable communities. However, with an average landholding size of 0.7 hectares, with 55% of farms operating on less than 0.5 hectares, the majority of farms are unable to produce enough to meet their household food requirements for the whole year. This makes the timely supply of production inputs, extension, and marketing services both difficult and costly. So while there continues to be a record-breaking harvest in Nepal of major cereal crops like rice, there is also a rapidly growing trade imbalance, leading to increased dependence on imports of these same cereal crops over the years. These factors will make it impossible for Nepal to meet the growing domestic food demand unless agricultural productivity and the market competitiveness of domestic production are all dramatically increased. And agriculture production in Nepal has yet to deliver on its full potential. There is a wide gap between the actual and potential yields of important cereals and pulses, including lentil, due to inadequate access to improved technologies and markets. In particular, lentil farming in Nepal faces challenges, especially as increasingly wetter winters and the impacts of climate change lead to low gains in yield, despite development efforts to prioritize lentil production. Innovative solutions are needed, and opportunities exist to strengthen the entire lentil value chain across Nepal. Now, today's gathering is to discuss one of the important value chains for Nepal. I've only been here in Nepal for 4 months, but I have quickly adopted a strong and unwavering love for dal bhat. So when I was asked to attend and give remarks at the consultation, I immediately said yes, of course. And I think I share that love of dal with all of you here. But there's other reasons to support lentil other than its central place in the heart and the stomachs of all Nepalis. Lentil is the #1 crop among all pulses in terms of both area and production. It's a rich source of protein and high in micronutrients such as iron and zinc, which are fundamental to increasing our immunity and maintaining a healthy metabolism. And in a country like Nepal, where malnutrition and high rates of micronutrient deficiency persist, the availability and accessibility of nutrient-dense foods like lentil is essential. But apart from its high dietary value, it is also an exportable commodity crop. Until 2015, Nepal was one of the world's top 5 lentil exporters. But unfortunately, climate change has brought warmer, wetter winters to Nepal's lentil-producing regions, which threatens lentil productivity. As a result of climate change, Nepal has lost a significant amount in its share in the global lentil export market over the past several years, resulting in reduced foreign exchange earnings. So, a few of the many questions we will pose to you all are, how can we use the latest in science, innovation, and market development to combat the effects of climate change and other emerging threats to lentil productivity? How can we help Nepali lentils become competitive in global markets once again? These are the kind of questions that we brought you here to help answer. In fact, the primary objective of this meeting is to have a rigorous interaction with scientists and researchers on the current state of lentil systems in Nepal, to explore current and future global lentil system innovations, and to seek new opportunities to strengthen this vital crop for Nepal. This workshop is just the latest effort in USAID's long partnership with Nepal that dates back 70 years. We've helped establish Nepal's premier education and research institutes like the Nepal Agriculture Research Council and what is now the Agriculture and Forestry University. We've set up market collection centers like the one in Karpukat, Salyan, that is still in operation today. And over the last 10 years, we've trained hundreds of thousands of farmers and linked them with markets. And now we are working in consultation with the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development to develop a new program with diverse activities that accelerates the transformation of Nepal's agriculture sector toward an inclusive, modern, sustainable, and climate-resilient future. In closing, I'm confident that this 2-day discussion with inputs from distinguished scientists, researchers, and development practitioners from around the globe will set in motion the changes needed to strengthen the lentil market system. Secretary Dr. Sharma, I applaud and thank the ministry for its participation and cooperation in organizing this international stakeholder discussion in lentil, and for your strong partnership in advancing agricultural development. Dhanyabad. Thank you.
Mr. Suk, thank you so much. If you're just joining the meeting, you can look in the chat for the full program agenda as well as profiles of all of the speakers. We'll turn to our next speaker, which is Dr. Douglas Buehler, who's the Assistant Vice President of Research and Innovation at Michigan State University. Dr. Buehler, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, and good morning and good afternoon to all of you. Wonderful introductory remarks by Jason, who really hit on, I think, a really important topic and really why we're all here today. So first off, let me welcome you all on behalf of Michigan State University. An event like this aligns very well with a long history of international engagement around food, nutrition, and related topics. This is something that's been very important to our university and has been central to our mission for many years. In addition, Michigan State University is very proud to host the Feed the Future Innovation Lab for Legume Systems Research, which is a USAID supported program, which is to conduct research and build capacity around important systems and the importance of legumes nationally and internationally. The overall goals of this program, which align very well with the mission of the university, are to increase sustainable and inclusive agricultural growth, strengthen the resilience of communities, and to enhance the diets of people all over the world. The current legume system builds on a long history of engagement in this type of work by Michigan State University, reaching back all the way to the 1980s with what was then called the bean and cowpea crisp. We've worked with USAID and international partners continuously since then in different forms, and the current innovation lab is just the latest iteration of that important partnership. We all know that legumes are a very, very important part of the world food system and also the diets of people. But if we look at where we're at in the world right now, with climate change and other stresses, these crops are going to become more and more important as we move forward. And so the research that's done, the discussions that take place in meetings like this and what they lead to in the future are already important and are only going to grow in importance as we move through the coming decades. So again, what all of this is about is partnership. And one of the things that has always been a great hallmark of this effort is the great partnerships between US-based university scientists and scientists all over the world. This is often, for many years, has been addressing the important research questions around policy, obviously variety development, distribution, things like that. But more recently, the issues of gender equity, youth, and so on have become of increasing importance because we know how important these issues are as we move forward. And another element that's been very important in this is graduate student training. We know that competent scientists are needed to address these issues, and often to have scientists that come from various parts of the world with high-end training who go back to their home countries and address local needs are absolutely critical, and has also been a very important piece of what we do. So finally, let me acknowledge and thank all of the dignitaries here from the Nepal government as well as USAID for all of your support and partnership over the years. As I said earlier, all of this is about partnership. Without these partnerships, we really don't have anything when we talk about these complex issues. So to all of you, best wishes for a good workshop, and I wish you well in identifying some very important issues and moving forward those as we move forward in support of lentil production and other issues in Nepal. Again, thank you for the opportunity and best wishes.
Dr. Buehler, thank you so much. I also want to commend you for the excellent choice of Zoom backgrounds. Obviously, you are quite advanced in selecting attractive Zoom backgrounds as well. Our next speaker is going to be Dr. Barry Pittendry, who is the director of the Feed the Future Innovation Lab for Legume Systems Research, and he'll share a brief welcome as well. Dr. Pittendry, over to you.
Great, thank you, Michael. My comments will be brief today as we have a full agenda facing us today and tomorrow. I'm excited by the energy that has surrounded this event. The positive response to this workshop has been overwhelming. Over the next 2 days, you will be hearing from 29 experts from across the globe who graciously committed their time to share their expert knowledge with all of us as we collectively seek solutions for lentil production and systems in Nepal. I'm looking forward to the next 2 days and speaking with you again tomorrow to summarize our key findings. And I'd like to emphasize this is meant to be an interactive workshop between all of us. This is a collective effort, and we appreciate everybody's collective effort in this program, getting us to this point and getting us through the next several days and beyond. I hope you find this an open forum and a place where you can share your vision for the future of lentils in Nepal. I'd also like to add that we strongly appreciate the support and opportunity that's been provided to us as a collective community by both USAID Washington and the USAID mission in Nepal. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to collectively engage each other and co-learn over the next several days so we can potentially move forward the radar dial of lentils in Nepal in the long term as a collective team and a collective group. So I'd like to thank USAID, both the Washington team and the Nepal mission team, to have this opportunity today and tomorrow and into the future. Thank you very much. And thank you, Michael. Much appreciated.
Barry, thank you so much. Some of you may have already seen in the chat that that Dr. Sharma, the Honorable Secretary, Agricultural Development in the Ministry of Agriculture, will not be able to join us today. So in a few moments, we will move ahead to Dr. Rajendra Durai from the Grain Legumes Research Program at the Nepal Agricultural Research Council. However, before we do that, it wouldn't be an appropriate international convening if we didn't take a picture of all of the participants. So this is the time when I'm going to invite everyone who is willing to turn their cameras on. And then our Legume Lab production staff at just the right time will take a picture of everyone so that we can capture all of the participants for this event. So if you're willing to be in the picture, I invite you to turn your camera on. And then when we see that a good number of people are ready, then we'll give you a 1, 2, 3, and we'll take a picture. Legume Lab, are we ready to go? Excellent. I see that folks are ready. So I'll say 1, 2, 3, and we'll take a couple of pictures. 1, 2, 3. And one more time for good measure. Okay. Jan, have we accomplished our most important mission?
Yes, thank you very much, Michael.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your indulgence. So with that, I would like to welcome Dr. Rajendra Durai, as I said, from the Grain Legumes Research Program at the Nepal Agricultural Research Council. Dr. Durai will provide an introduction on the current state of lentil production in Nepal. And there won't be an opportunity to actually have verbal questions, but again, the chat is the lifeline of our program today and tomorrow. So use the chat not just for questions, but for your takeaways, for your responses to what it is that you're hearing, and that becomes a place for our dialogue today. So with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Dr. Rajendra Durai.
Thank you, Michael. Respected Mr. Jason from USAID Nepal, Dr. Douglas from Michigan State University, Dr. Barry, and my respected Secretary, Dr. Govinda Prasad Sharma. Welcome to everyone. Namaste and good morning, good evening to all of you. Next, please. My presentation topic today is the current state of lentil production in Nepal. Next, please. Next. In my presentation, I will highlight about a short introduction, what the scenario, demands, and then, yeah, it's lentil. It's one of the most wonderful and most preferred for legumes of Nepalese people. Uh, food is food. Nepalese food means pulse, rice, and vegetables because it sometimes it is also called coarse man-made and because of high concentration of protein, minerals, and having low fat, sodium. And actually, it's ideal food because of gluten-free. And it's self-pollinated, deployed, having a large genome size. If you look the old production, it was estimated about 6.63 million metric tons from 5.48 million hectares. Globally, it's cultivated more than 53 countries. And more than 85% production occurs in 5 specific regions: India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. 34%, Canada 40%, Turkey and Northern Australia 10%, Australia 10%. Actually, Nepalese lentil is almost organic. They do not put any input. They do not farmers do not use any inputs. And then it's very tasty, fast cooking quality, having high concentration of protein, iron, zinc. So it exports, in international market, both as a whole and split lentils. And it also has a key role in crop diversification, crop intensification, and for sustainable soil health. And it contributes to the livelihoods of the Nepalese people, more than 6 lakh smallholders households of Nepal. Next, please. Approximately 0.24 million hectare of lands remain fallow after rise. So there is a scope to expansion the area. And now, which is linking to agriculture and health. Agricultural development strategy also address in lentil. So in future, lentil will have a good future. Next, please. If you, grain legumes that share about 11% out of total cultivated land, and it ranks 4th place in terms of area and production after rice, maize, and wheat. But however, lentil share major, area 62% and 65% production. So this is the #1 crop. In Nepal, it's about recently 2,12,876 hectare lands. Its area and its production is about 2,62,835 metric ton. Next. So if you look the province-wise lentil area and production, province 2, Lumbini province and Sudur Pasim province are the major area and production. You can see, and 42% in province 2, and 30% lentils grow in Lumbini province, and then 14% lentil in Sudur Pasim province. Next. Yes, this is the top 10 lentil growing districts. Kailali, Bardia, Rautahat, Para, Dang, Kohalpur, Parsa, Baki, Matari, Danusa, and Saptari. However, in the Baki, you can see some of the high productivity. Next. And if you look the trends of area production productivity over the years 1984-2020, its area increased by twofold, and while in production increased by 4.95-fold, and yield has increased by 2.46-fold. That means this increment is due to our intervention of our improved varieties, and then also it's the extension people, so they are also expanding this crop in this area. So, and also farmers, they are growing, like that. Next. This is world area and production. I already mentioned there. Canada is #1 producer, and followed by India, and Australia, then Turkey and Nepal. It's a major world's area of production of lentil. Next. This is the import trends over the years 2012, 2009 in Nepal. We can see here in 2019, we also importing about 38,000 metric ton, and the value is about around $18 million. Next. This is the export trends. You can see we also exported lentils at the same time, and around $12 million from Nepal to the overseas. Next. This is just the export trends. I would like to show here in this slide. 1984, 2000. Sometimes it goes up to 73 thousand metric ton, exported to the overseas. But now it is a decrease, trends. Next. In like that, but in these days, importing of input trains of lentil is going up. In 2019, imported 38,000 metric ton, and the value is about $18 million. Next. This is the comparative chart of the same thing, so I don't need to, I think, to explain more. Next, please. It's also same thing, Next. Yes, this our yield potential in research trial is about more than 2 ton, but attainable yield in farmers field is around 1.2 ton. So there, an average farm field yield is about 0.6 ton. So there is a huge yield gap, about 0.6, 0.8 ton. We can increase. There is a potential to increase in rain-fed agriculture. Next. Yeah, in Nepal, it was estimated that total requirement of lentil is 306,000 metric ton. To meet these demands, we have to increase about 60 to 70,000 hectare of land more. So our existing, this is the existing area and existing our lentil production. First I would like so. Next. A major issue that is still in our Nepal in undernourished population was about 27.6%, and these legumes are the main source of proteins, but they're categorized as secondary crop, and then there is no any government policy, and also importing a huge amount. So this is also another issue. Low priority for lentils research and development. Lower seed replacement rate was there. Weak linkage with extension and federal permits and local level. Also low attention given by the private sector for seed production. Limited use of machinery and equipment, and there was also socioeconomics. Sometimes it's also called an orphan crop because they do not use any inputs. Even the any management, weed management, herbicide, disease management, pest, nothing. They do not use. Thus, they throw the seeds and then harvest. Another is also the missing lentil in government mega game changer project. So lack of systematized markets networks there, and also there was no any subsidy to the farmers, so they do not compete with our neighboring countries' farmers. And also another thing is the poor transfer of technology. Next. So challenges was there, biotic stress was there, diseases like steam file imply, fusarium oil, pest is like aphids, pod borer is there, the weeds are, many weeds are, noxious weed is there, problem. Beside this, abiotic stresses were there, like drought, heat stress, sometimes, heavy winter rainfall was there, water logging problem is there, change in pest and disease dynamics also, seen in this Nepal, and then also degradation of the soil, and also nutrient mining is there. Also narrow genetic diversity, so highly influenced by the GBI interaction, and then seed size reduces. Also that poor crop establishment, moisture stays, and less attention. These are some of the challenges to the research. Next. Next, please. And beside this, other social environmental challenge was there. We have fragmented land, Nepal per capita land holding capacity was 0.14 hectares. So this is also the problems, great problems to adopt our technology. And also increasing labor cost reliability. Another problem is there, vulnerability in food legume prices. They directly connected the lentils area and production with legumes prices, lentil prices. So another is also beside this, climate variability, climate change was there, global warming changing was there. So negative impacts of climate change, which lead to food and nutritional insecurity for poor, disadvantaged, and marginal populations. Next. So based on these challenges and this constant, we have conducted some of the research activities in lentil improvement, is lentil breeding improvement activities there. We do crossing hybridization program, collection, conservation, utilization of the germplasm, acoustic, and then local land access. And also advanced trial was there. We are focusing stage tolerance breeding, participatory breeding, and also we demonstration in farmers fields and then also we are working in maintenance breeding also to make purity of our promising genotypes and our release varieties. And also beside this, we all focused on research work on quality breeding, particularly biofortified lentil and food products. And also we are working here at the molecular breeding and mutation breeding, and also plant protection activities are there. And then also with climate smart technologies development and biofertilizers, seed production, and then also we provide training, capacity building, consultative. We also provide consultative services. Next, please.
Dr. Durai, this is Michael. I just want to let you know you have about 3 or 4 minutes left.
Okay, this is the modeling. Next. This is modality. And this is our national international linkages, lentil. ICARDA supply of genetic resources and capacity building. Next, please. Next. And this is our genetic resources, total around 835, Next, please. And this is major achievement. Till date, we 14 different varieties we released for different ecology, 4 biofortified lentils variety developed and released. Host assisted lines also we developed. Beside this, we have developed IPM, IDM technologies for disease and pest management, and also established some seed entrepreneurs, and also development of early warning system. Next, please. So this is our variety release for different agrodomains. Next, please. 14. And this is, yes, micronutrient deficiency or hidden hunger or micronutrient malnutrition is due to the lack of vital vitamins and minerals in the diet. In Nepal, it's hidden hunger index. If you look that Nepal is 21.2. So there is serious threat. Next. Next. So, only the breeding approach is most feasible approach to develop the biofortified lentil. Next. And yes, that's why these are our lentils, biofortified lentil we release, Khajura Masuru 3, having high iron zinc concentration and protein adapted in Tharai to mid hills. Next, please. And also Khajura Masuru 4 release. This is also biofortified lentil. Next. It's a Srada, it's a black lentil, also released. It's also high iron and zinc concentration. Next. And so this is how we develop the lentil accession. Is this time I just would like to show here the number of research trials, from screening for different purposes. Next. Also, I see multi-location trial with some of the outputs, from for drought tolerance, for cold tolerance, for micronutrients. Next. Besides also some morphological diversity in Nepal's interest indicated that medium level of intraspecific, low to medium level intraspecific diversity, and some of the blinds, PL4, IL7, that is good for high hills, mid hills environment, and some of the stable line was there. Next. And this is also we molecular some of the markers which was very highly polymorphic markers, and then some of the high concentration iron concentration lentil accession was there. 120 to 186, like high zinc concentration line was there. Next, please. And some of this plant pathology also we some achievement achieved from our research. Next, for stem implied for fusarium weed and some of the efficacy of botanical fungicide biocontrols. We have technology, and also we have we can change the planting time, and also I recommend the chemical fungicide for this control of this stem disease. Next. And as for entomology, from some of the aphids tolerance lines, also we find from the research. Next. That's agronomy and soil research out for this. Some of the climate change smart technology also we develop for heat stress tolerance and for wheat management. From the for flood irrigation systems also we develop some of the lines for the high moisture soil moisture condition. Is there? Next, please. Also beside this, the different sowing methods also is there. Optimization of fertilizer is there, like the if we 50 kg mung bean biomass plot per plot and NPK 130 kg applied in rice, then produce high yield of lentil. Next. So in IPAT ICARA project, that from this project we covers about 244 hectare of land and produce 1,446 quintal of seeds, and also we train 710 farmers and 191 were the direct beneficiaries from the project. Next. This is the summary. I will also develop some of the video documentary. Next. This is highlighted by Moin Salam about this, but we sensitize our farmers through early warning system. Next, please.
And Dr. Durai,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt, but it's Michael again. If you can move toward the end of the presentation, that would be great.
Okay, next. Just that's what we're doing here. Sometime next. Next to training workshop, also visited by the training participant interaction. Next. And so the adoption was here. Most demanded adopted varieties was 6, and the increased dietary intake of lentil, and then also adoption rate was 58%, increasing agro-processing units and exporters. Next, almost finished. This is just we also develop some strategies, short term, medium term, and long term. Please go ahead, sir. Next. But we have opportunity also. We have good support from international organization. We have diverse ecology environment so that we can develop some location specific, some wider adaptation. Consider able area under rice fallow. Health consciousness is there. Next, please. And the way forward is that we need to use our biotechnology tools for fast track breeding. And also we focus on stress tolerance breeding we need. And then also some climate change smart production technology development. We have to focus that one. And then resource conservation technology. And then we also need to mechanize farming, then categorize breeding plan to different stages, different varieties, types of varieties. And so mostly we suggest Ministry of Agriculture and Development to bring lentil as the mainstream national commodity in policy level. Thank you. I think. Next. Thank you. I don't know.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Durai, for that very comprehensive overview. And I want to thank everyone for the comments and questions in the chat. Just to note that obviously presenters may not be able to answer questions in real time, but capturing those questions will be helpful after today and even after the program so that all of the speakers and presenters can see them, can be part of articulating responses to those. The next speaker is going to be Mr. Ramakrishna Nupane from Forward, and Mr. Nupane will speak on the major agronomic barriers of lentil productivity in Nepal. So Mr. Nupane, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I was late due to some technical problem with my computer. So, as per the schedule, I would like to present the short paper on agronomic barriers to lentil productivity in Nepal. Next, please.
And Mr. Nupane, if I can interrupt you, we can't see your full face. If it's possible to move your computer just a little bit so that we can see your video as you're presenting, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But of course, if that's not possible, so that you can see your own screen, that's okay too.
Okay. Now going to my first slide. Now lentil as a crop is grown from Tawai to the high hills up to 2,500 meters. The average productivity of lentil in Nepal is 1.2 metric tons, and over 6 million smallholder farmers are engaged in lentil farming, and it is a source of livelihood and income to the large number of small farmers in Nepal. Now the major cropping systems in which the lentil is grown is either maize-based or rice-based. In rice-based system, we have rice followed by lentil in sequence, then rice followed by lentil mixed with oilseed crops. Then the next major pattern on rice system is rice release lentil system. So before the harvest of rice, lentil is relayed into the standing crop of rice. And in the upland case, then maize sequence lentil followed by maize, then maize followed by lentil mixed with mustard, Brassica campestris. And the new emerging pattern is sugarcane, autumn planted sugarcane mixed with lentil. These are the major cropping patterns in which the lentils have been used. Next, please. Yeah. Now, barriers in rice lentil relay system. Since this relay system, rice relay system occupies more than 40% of the area under lentils. This is one of the major system, and the major barriers in this system is poor germination of lentil. Even if it germinates, poor survival of seedlings due to waterlogging or poor drainage. This is the problem I have shown in the picture also. The yellowing of lentil plants due to waterlogged soils there. Then in this system, there is more increased disease incidents like wilts, root rots, and stem phylum blight. And the other barriers is the application of nutrients. Actually, the crop is grown on as a in under zero inputs. Nothing is applied in lentil, only it is seeded and left. So there is no methodology to apply fertilizer nutrients in that scenario. And the next is wood management is difficult under lentil system. So poor plant density or poor plant stand is the major constraint under this system. Next, please. Next, please. Please, next, please. Yeah. Now the other is barriers in maize, mustard, lentil system. As lentil is grown under maize-based system and mixed with Brassica compacta, this Thoria. So in that system, lentil and mustard mixture, seed mixtures are broadcast soon after maize or rice harvest. Mustard is harvested earlier and the lentil left to grow. Lentil plants starve for nutrients on that system. As shown in the figure also, the lentil plants show some starve for nutrients, and we don't have in technology recommendation or for application of foliar fertilizer. It is not standardized, and as a result, in the maize-based system, the yields are very poor, and the rice system, the yields are reasonable. Next, please. Yeah, now, even if we have so many varieties of lentils, 14 varieties lentils released so far, and other agronomic and management practices, the whole thing is often masked by the winter rains. So everything is dependent on winter rains. Improved varieties or local varieties, anything. So if there is a wet winter in lowland, then there is vigorous growth of lentils. There is incidence of stem phylum blight, which is very severe, and as a result, there is a very poor yield in lowland area in wet years. But in the dry wood, if there is a dry winter, then in the lowland, growth is normal and the yield is also normal. And in the wet years, in the upland area, there is in the wet years in the upland area, normal growth and normal yields. If it is a dry winter, the upland area suffers. There will be poor growth and poor yield. So, apart from the other available technologies, everything is determined by the state of winter rain, whether it is wet or dry. Next, please. Yeah. So this is the effect of winter rains and productivity. Wet winter low, when there is a wet winter, productivity is low in lowlands and a higher productivity in uplands. If the winter is dry, there is better yield in lowlands and poor yield in uplands. Based on these results of winter rain, then we have to suggestion for creation of better irrigation facilities in uplands. That is for the dry years, and improved drainage system in the lowlands. Then there should be some adjustment in swinging time and promotion of early maturing rice varieties. Next, please. Other barriers are inadequate production and inefficient distribution system of rhizome inoculum to farmers. Though we have recommended seed treating with rhizome culture to the farmers, so the production is not adequate, sufficient, and also this distribution system is not efficient, so that farmers, even if they want, they can't apply it. Then there is excessive weed growth, both in relay and post-rhizome lentils. Due to that, there is huge loss of quality and quantity of lentils. And the other barrier is post-harvest losses are very high due to lack of proper harvesting, threshing equipment, and also improper storage facilities. Next, please. Yeah, well, we can see the post losses here because of three reasons. One is the farmers harvest the crop, overripe crop. So there is pod drop and seed scattering in overmatured crop. Again, during this threshing, splitting of lentils and poor marketing quality, and also in the transport of lentils. As we can see in the picture, there is loss in transport of harvested crop. Next, please.
Mr. Nupane, this is Michael. I just want to let you know you have about 3 minutes.
Okay. Now, this is on my concluding slide, the major agronomic barriers for discussion. So, poor or suboptimal plant population in relay crop lentils, that is plant density, that is the major constant for higher yield. Then lack of fertilizer nutrient management technology or recommendation in rice lentil relay system. We don't have any recommendation for the lentil. And in lentils, mixed crop thoria, that is mustard, we don't have any recommendation. And poor access of farmers to seeds of stress tolerant variety. So the farmers have poor access of seeds of stress tolerant varieties or varieties that will be suitable under waterlogged or condition or in very dry areas. Then poor access of farmers to suitable machines for lentil farming, sowing, harvesting it, and for irrigation facilities in the upland area. So these are the major agronomic barriers that we should discuss and find its solution for future research and development activities. This is all. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Nupane, thank you so much. Mr. Nupane was the first speaker in the agronomy session. The second speaker is going to be Dr. Meena Devotka from ICARDA, and Dr. Devotka will speak on the major agronomic barriers of lentil productivity. Dr. Devotka, over to you.
Thank you, Michael. Am I audible? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you and your screen.
Okay, thank you. It's great. Namaste and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all, wherever you are. Today I'm presenting major barriers of agronomic barriers of lentil productivity in Nepal. Is assigned the topics, and mostly I'm presenting from my experience working in Simit Shisha when I was working there, and also my experience working with a farmer and also as a farmer over there. So this is, we all know that lentil is important food crops for legume in Nepalese diet. It contributes for enhancing nutritional security for poor families. But we know that there is a, and it contributes for enhancing nutritional security for poor families. But again, there is high risks. That's why we are discussing today and also farmers are putting low input. As a result, it has a low output as well. And this is the study that we have conducted in 2015 cropping season from 600 farm households, and it has showed that about 62% farmers are in loss if we account for the family labor. So this is again, one of the challenges that we are talking about today. And also another one is from the same data set from across these Western Tarai districts, and there is about 41% farms are technically efficient. So you can see that this indicates that there is a significant scope to increase lentil productivity and technical efficiency through better management practices, unless there is a good favorable weather condition that we are talking now. This is a major challenge. And we know that good agronomic management is one of the major components to bridge the yield gap to get high productivity. That I'm presenting. I would like to show some of the agronomic innovations that when we were working with farmer and different on-farm evaluation of different agronomic innovations. There I will present just a few. This is actually the just contribution from the input variety, and compared to what farmers are using their own variety. Use of improved varieties led to increased lentil productivity by around 200 kg per hectare. This is average from the different farm evaluation. Again, and this is somehow an unfavorable weather year, and the same condition is previous presenter, Dr. Nepal, and has already mentioned that uniform establishment is one of the major challenges for lentil. That we can see from the lentil fields are really not uniform. So we have just studied that uniform plant establishment can increase yield by 220 kg per hectare, in average 14% higher yield compared to what farmers are doing now. And there are different seeding equipments, either from scale appropriate, either from small to larger scale as available for uniform seed broadcasting or seed seeding. At the same time, we know that majority of the farmers, as previous presenter has explained, that really poor field. I mean the lentil crop performance you can see. So why just I have listed few that generally the farmers grow lentil in less fertile fields and with very poor land preparation before seeding. That still the farmers' perception is lentil is very important as for other stable cereals. Similarly, poor crop establishment, not uniform plant population, poor choice of appropriate variety and quality, because there are for cereals for main crops farmers choose like whatever good varieties, but still this is not in farmers' perception. And very low use of rhizobium, which has several research showed that use of rhizobium inoculation, especially on virgin land, has really good improvement on yield. And similarly, very poor fertilizer, irrigation, and weed management. And another aspect is most of the farmers use mixed cropping, and there is very poor knowledge for right combination and management practices for those mixed cropping. This is also one of the challenges in lentil farmer. And again, very poor harvest and post-harvest management. So why now the challenge is why farmers are not practicing good practices, although there are several efforts has been made from national, international, and private sector organizations. So this is, now we have to think about, that's why we are here, that why this is happening, why there is farmers are really not adopting practices, because as I mentioned already, that is high risk. And lentil productivity is highly associated with the climatic condition in both hills and Tarai. That I would like to show some of the example and outputs. This is the 5 years on-farm evaluation with the different agronomic innovations that CISA was trying, to improve the productivity with different variety, using different varieties and other practices. So out of these 5 years, you can see that 2 years, actually 2012 and 2014, there is almost no yield. We can see less than 500 in few farmers. This is a large set of data, and this for bank A. So this indicates that yes, I mean this is a researcher managed and with different innovations. It still is in some years it's really hard to get good yield. Why? This is all I will discuss. It's really climatic sensitive. Since this is in case of Tarai, which has lowland, and similarly, this is again challenge in high hills, that with the same amount of, I mean, these wet years, actually in 2014, 12, 13, that was favorable for the hills. You can see that really good yield in Surkhet. And what you see in 2016, it was really dry year, and there was hardly no crop yield in hills. So this is really a challenge for lentil farmer, again, and also challenge for the scientist. And again, this is again one example that the 2015-16 was really dry year, and you can see this is the field in Dadeldura that we didn't get even single crop from the hills, but at the same time there was some good amount of yield in heavy soil in Tarai, and also there was almost very little yield on light soil. So these are the challenges that even in dry years. Again, the innovations that we were working for raised bed planting can perform better for lowlands, which provides opportunity to irrigate when it is dry and helps to drain excess water when there is any, I mean, in principle, when there is more water. But what happened that, the climatic condition was not favorable always. This is our lentil field. You can see a very fantastic lentil growing on the raised bed. This is in Bardia, and immediately after 7-10 days after unseasonal heavy rain, you can see that right side that lentil was almost nothing. So it gives, like, unless we have a good variety which can sustain this kind of disease resistant, even we use some innovation that which has like a good facility to drain excess water, still is a big challenge. That's just I would like to highlight. And again, another
Dr. Dakota,
yes.
Excuse me, this is Michael. I just want to let you know you've got about 2 more minutes.
Okay, I am almost. So this is again that I'm not going to deal much about this stem phylum problem that's coming. Dr. Moyne will be explaining, I guess, on that. So there is even very high risk of stem phylum blight for the lentil. And again, what we need to consider, yes, there is very high climatic risk. Frequency of unfavorable condition is increasing in recent years. So we need suitable genotypes which can well adapt to drought and waterlogging as well as disease resistant, reliable weather forecast, medium to long-term forecast with climate advisory services, availability of suitable low-cost fungicide for disease management. I guess, it should have been improved right now, but when I was there, it was a problem. And again, we need to not only for technical perspective, we also need to work from social perspective, just to change the mindset of farmer, even in the good year, still, as I mentioned before. And it is labor intensive, especially for the weed management and harvesting. We need suitable herbicide and machinery for harvest. Developing genotypes for herbicide resistant and mechanical harvesting is very important to sustain the lentil productivity in Nepal. Alternative crop establishment methods like this bed planting, no tillage, relay seeding, mixed cropping, it needs suitable machinery and agronomy. And again, suitable variety for mixed cropping, conservation agriculture, bed planting, which are considered as research conservation technology and can be the future farming. So it has to focus on suitable variety for working on those conditions. And again, this is my summary slides that I was quickly run the simulation to see the climatic yield potential for lentil, and it was, around 4 ton. And this is attainable yield. It means the best condition we can attain at least around almost 3 ton per hectare, but we are now 1.2 ton per hectare. That's our now all sectors challenge is to reach from 1.2 to almost at least 3 ton or 2.5 ton yield, which is attainable from all sectors. And that's we need to prioritize breeding for developing variety together with the management practices which can overcome such challenges. Need to bundle the agronomic solution to disseminate agronomic at different farmers level. Reliable weather forecast and climate advisory strong seed system and input and output marketing. And as I said, we need also social aspect that farmers' perception has to understand that still lentil should not be done as a neglected crop. And this is now, I would like to highlight that I am here now in Middle East, in MENA region, in North Africa and other MENA region. Bank is a major challenge threatening and reducing the lentil production in this region. Fortunately, we are lucky. Still, we don't have this major problem, but we should to keep eyes. Scientists have to keep an eye that once this weed comes, it is really terrible. I feel about how farmers are suffering in the Middle East here, and so we should keep an eye that we should be controlling this if there is already. Thank you for providing this opportunity.
Dr. Defkota, thank you so much. And it's very appropriate that toward the end of your presentation, you spoke about the effect of climate, because our next and last speaker before the break is Dr. Moin Salam from the University of Western Australia. And I believe the title of your presentation, Dr. Salam, is Climate-Related Barriers and Implications to Lentil Productivity in Nepal. Very pleased to pass the baton to you, and Dr. Salam, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A number of academic research, development, and funding agencies and institutes to enter into and explore the world of lentil, especially in South Asia since 2012. This is why I am here today in this workshop, and I begin my talk acknowledging those supports. Especially this presentation is based on the work that I've been doing in the last 5 years in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bihar through CIMIT, and particularly through CISA, funded by USAID. And this talk is a representation from CIMIT. Thank you. Next, please. The crop lentil is deep-rooted into Nepalese culture, as we have heard already. Dal bhat and tarkari is the foundation of Nepalese cuisine. This iconic combo meal is also shares captions in entertainment industry in Nepal. In short, Nepal cannot imagine a day without lentil. Next, please. In fact, Nepal cannot imagine a landscape without seeing lentil plants growing there. According to 2018-19 government statistics, all but 5 of the 77 administrative districts grew lentil. It's amazing. And one can draw a research hypothesis from here that historically and broadly, climate suits growing lentil in Nepal. Next, please. If we look at the statistics of area coverage shown in bar graphs and production achievement shown in curved line, we note that 14 districts occupied around 80% of national lentil area and production. So we can infer from here that climate, in addition to soil and crop preference issues, is relatively advantageous for lentil cropping in those 14 districts. Next, please. Now, in terms of productivity, that I have expressed as ton per hectare, it varies with the lentil producing districts. The 14 districts contributing to 80% of the national lentil area and production, the average yield stands as 1.19 ton per hectare, which is exactly the national average of 1.2 ton per hectare. For rest of the districts, average yield has been below 1 ton per hectare. And also to note here that the yield variability in the 14 districts is much lower than the rest of the districts. So this is likely that climate and edaphic factors are contributing to productivity of lentil in those 14 districts. Next, please. So what explains the production of lentil in Nepal? The two variables contribute to production, area coverage, and yield. The figure on the left with blue bullets shows that the relationship between area and production across the lentil growing districts. In quantitatively, it tells if you add 1 hectare of lentil land, that adds up to 1.23 tons of national lentil production. So if you add 1 hectare of lentil land, that adds up 1.23 tons of national lentil production. The figure on the right is the relationship between yield and production across the lentil growing districts. Quantitatively, adding 1 kilogram yield per hectare adds up 3.83 tons to national lentil production. What does it mean? It signifies the importance of productivity on uplifting lentil industry in Nepal. Next, please. Almost 80% of the lentil area is concentrated in the lowlands, particularly in the Tarai region. Therefore, Tarai is considered as the major lentil production domain. Coming back to climate, lentil is grown in Nepal once the monsoonal rain is retreated. Hence, climate dictates the timing of sowing lentil opportunity. Next, please. So timing, frequency, and quantity of rain are the drivers for sowing lentil in Nepal. Taking example of scenarios of two major lentil growing area districts, Khailali and Bakke, the orange bar and the arrow shows the rainfall scenario in August that facilitate lentil to sow as early as September in Khailali district. In contrast, the blue bars show an arrow shows the lentil scenarios in rainfall scenarios in August and September that do not allow lentil to sow early in Bakke district compared to Khailali. It should be noted that sowing time, as Dr. Nepani pointed out, affects the productivity, that is yield potential, and the incidence and severity of the killer lentil diseases, as Dr. Darai pointed out. Next, please. Now, temperature, on the other hand, dictates growth duration of lentil. In Khailali, as shown in orange bar, experiences a pleasant decreasing temperature from August to January, favoring good vegetative growth, and then slowly increasing temperature, favoring seed maturation. In the Bakke district, on the other hand, temperature during November to March remains higher than Khailali and moves in an increasing trend, which curtails the duration of the lentil growth and development. Growth duration affects the dry matter accumulation, and in turn, the productivity of the lentil and its yield potential. Next, please. The year-to-year variability is not uncommon in Nepal these days, as Jason and other speakers pointed out. Lentil is very, very sensitive to high rainfall. Waterlogging causes death, plant death, and too much moisture causes several fungal diseases like root rot and stem phylum blight. I think that will be discussed by Lakshman Ariel later in this session. Next, please. Now, based on the climate variability discussed in the previous slides, let's examine productivity of lentil in 4 prominent lentil growing districts: Kanchanpur, Khailali, Bardia, and Bakke. Next, please. Now, climate occupied the edaphic environment, coupled with edaphic environment, influences district to district productivity of lentils. You look at the horizontal lines. This is the yield variation measured from the farmer's field for the 2 seasons in those districts. You can see wide variation of ranges. The 2 things to be pointed out here. One is the location or the district level yield variation that is triggered by climate, and also the yield variation within the district. Probably that will be triggered by soil condition or edaphic condition and rainfall variability within the season between the locations within the district. And more interestingly, you can see the red bar, that is the vertical bar. This is very important to note. This is the yield variation within a field. So we expect the yield variation between the fields, but we usually don't expect yield variation within the field. As you know, there are so many reasons for that. As Dr. Nepani pointed out, maybe the waterlogging, maybe the disease problem, and if you can reduce, so forget about other issues. If you can reduce this yield variation within the field, you can increase the yield by about 25% without intervening any further things in Nepal. So this is the very important thing to point out in our future strategy and planning. Next,
Dr.
please.
Salam, pardon the interruption. It's Michael. You have about 2 more minutes.
Okay, next please. The other thing is this figure shows how changing in-season weather pattern influences farmers' yield in target 4 districts here. So if the achieved yields would have been lined up with the diagonal line, the yield expectation of the farmers would have totally realized. But it doesn't happen regularly. The survey result shows, on the brighter side, better yield expected, better than expected season resulted in higher yield that expected the farmers in Kanchanpur and Kailali districts. On the other hand, on the darker side, worse than expected season resulted in lower than expected yield in Bardia and Bakke district. Next, please. So this figure presents the framework for upliftment and sustaining lentil productivity, centering around climate and weather. Performance of a productivity domain, that is a lentil field, is influenced firstly by climate. The climate provides strategy, that is pre-season information on probable potential varieties for the domain and variety-specific management options. The farmer, given his or her preferences and aspirations, makes the ultimate decision on variety and management options. The performance domain is influenced, secondly, by weather. Weather provides tactical, that is in-season information, moderating climate-based strategic information under changed weather circumstances. For example, a variety designated earlier as potential for the domain may no longer be valid due to unexpected delay in sowing triggered by heavy rains. Again, the farmers, given their aspirations and preferences, makes the ultimate tactical decisions on variety and management options. Ladies and gentlemen, lentil needs to stand tall against the competing crops through enhanced profitability, driven by increased productivity to sustain Nepalese cropping systems. Next, please. So the climate barriers in Nepal deprive farmers choosing good varieties across the landscape. The climate barriers prevent farmers utilizing ideal sowing window to achieve yield potential. The climate barriers make the farmers worry in managing major diseases following conventional methodology. The climate barriers frustrate farmers in lentil cropping. Consequently, climate barriers have made lentil a risky crop in Nepal. In addition, as Dr. Darai pointed out, lentil is regarded as orphan crop in Nepal. So how to deal with climate barriers for uplifting and sustaining lentil productivity? Here are a few thoughts. Given the climate variability is becoming very common phenomenon, Nepalese farmers should think lentil production system in a 4-year production cycle. They should make the best effort for maximizing productivity from the best favorable season, probably 1 or 2 in 4 years. And they should target minimizing production cost in the adverse season. Number 2, Nepal R&D should consider developing and disseminating weather forecast-based in-season lentil management advisory as Dr. Meena Devkota pointed out. For example, advising when to apply chemical to control a disease. I will highlight this from my work in Nepal in the panel discussion, and whether to undergo early harvest in the event of probable becoming heavy rains towards the end of the season to reduce the post-harvest loss. And finally, something to explore, something on waterlogged tolerant varieties. Maybe to have to compromise the yield potential to begin with, but the mission should be to stabilize yield in those environments. Thank you.
Dr. Salam, thank you so much. And I have to say, as a non-technical expert, I've learned a lot from all of the presentations. We've now come to the end of the first part of the program. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break, and when we return, we'll turn to the topic of pests and integrated pest management. The break will be for 5 minutes, and we'll start promptly in 5 minutes. So please enjoy your break, and we'll see you again in 5 minutes. Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is Michael again. I have no choice. When the timer goes off, I must continue. So again, if you've joined us late or are just joining, I'm Michael Weinraub, a Knowledge and Learning Specialist at USAID in Washington, D.C. And this is the second part of our program, and we'll turn to the topic of pests and integrated pest management. We'll have a couple of speakers, and then we'll go into breakout rooms where there'll be an opportunity to select your desired topic and to actually enjoy a little bit more interaction in smaller groups. But we're going to start with Mr. Laxman Aryal from NARC. And Mr. Aryal will speak on economic pests and diseases of lentil in Nepal and their management practices. Mr. Aryal, are you here? Hi, Mr. Aryal, over to you. Laxman Aryal.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I can hear you fine. The floor is yours.
Mr. Aryal, could you share screen?
Yeah.
Great. I see your screen is beginning to share.
Yeah.
So we can now see your screen. And if it's possible to put it in presentation mode, that probably is better because it will make it easier to see.
Yeah. Is it fine now?
It is pretty good. If it's possible to put it into presentation mode, then that would make it easier to see, perhaps up at slideshow in the top of your screen. If it's too hard to get into slideshow or presentation mode, we can see it this way, but if it's easy to get it into presentation mode, I think it would make it easier for participants to see.
Yeah, I could manage up to this. Yeah.
I think this is I think this is fine. You can go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Now, for today, for the future of lentil system in Nepal, I have got topic for lentil IPM package to discuss about. And without any delay, I'm going to present some of the IPM packages we have conducted in the research. Yeah, this is the lentil production constraint I'm going to show here. Majorly, the lentil is a very risky crop, and as earlier presenter also mentioned that there is huge yield gap in the lentil production. So I am just pointing out what are the major constraints for the lentil production in Nepal. Firstly, I would like to point out the biotic factors. And in the biotic factors, there are many fungal diseases that stem phylum blight is the major one. And slowly we can see the root rot diseases also are the major yield limiting factors also. And also weed problem also in the farmers field, we see many weed problem for the farmers and very difficult to control them. And along with there is a biotic factors also. We can see the winter rainfall and drought. And these are the problems for the yield limiting factors also. And side by side, there is a social and technical problem also, like low seed replacement rate and no market assurance of the lentil, less management practice followed to other crops because it is treated as an orphan crop and given less value for its management. And I'd like to show major problems in the biotic factors, and mostly is the stem phylum blight, which is a major disease in the lentil. I can show here the disease symptom with its pathogen also. And similarly, fusarium wilt, which is a major problem of the lentil in Nepalese context also. Similarly, root rot also seen at the early stage of the crop, and it reduces the early establishment of the plant, and where the lentil is grown repeatedly from year to year, and where there is a residual moisture after the rice harvest, the disease is becoming more problem. And we see the rust is scattered in the location of the Nepal, and it is not regular disease, but we can see in the sporadic manner from in Nepal also. In stem phylum blight, this is a major disease of the lentil, and we are working for it, how to manage this disease and gain the yield also. And for this disease, we have to make farmers assured what is the mainly disease is. Farmers, they do not consider about the disease, only they go for the yield, and they take it easily. They do not go for the management strategy also. But stem phylum blight is very unpredicted disease. It is totally dependent on the weather condition also. So we have to scout the field from the early stage of the crop. So this is the picture I have shown here. This is sorting of the early stem phylum blight, which is shown in this figure also, symptom which appears as a brown lesion. And for the diagnosis, we work in lab, we see this conidia, and this is how stem phylum blight progresses in the field condition. As the severity.
Mr. Aryal, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Michael. I'm seeing in the chat, it appears as though your slides are not advancing. Can you just see if, just confirm that on your screen you see the slide that you want to see, because the rest of us are still on. There we go. Great. So now we're good. Let's just be sure to advance the slides as you continue on to each one. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the progress of the disease I have shown here. This is how the disease progresses, and as the disease severity increases, it badly hampers for the pod formation also. So it is the most important disease in the context of lentil. So we have to manage this disease in the integrated way. So we have done some activities for the management of stem phylum blight here. So firstly, we are working for the date of sowing also, because it is weather related. So we are working for the date of sowing also. We can see the early date of sowing has escaped the disease with the high yield, and as we move later on the season, the disease increases. This is how it is shown here. Disease severity on 18th October sowing, and at later stage, the disease severity has increased with a decrease in yield also. And this is what the mystery is of about stem phylum blight. In the last 2018 and 2019, we saw the appearance of the disease in different stages of the crop. As you see in the literature, as we assume that the stem phylum blight appears at the later stage of the crop, but it is not what we saw in the field last 2 years. It is the picture. It is appeared at the 14 days after sowing, and at the 35 days of sowing, we can see the severity of the disease at the 35 days after sowing in 2019. But in 2018, we see the disease has appeared after 58 days after sowing, and at pod filling stage, the severity is at this level. So it is not predicted that we cannot predict the disease is occurring at this stage. So we have to monitor the disease since from the early stage of the crop. So for this monitoring, we have to scout the field at the early stage. For this, from the last 2-3 years, within the collaboration of CIMIT CISA, we have worked for the stempedia model. In the field level also, we are working on this model. This is a weather-based model, and we are working in the Dang, Banke, Kailali, and Kansurpun district. And stempedia model is the part of the lentil IPM, because stem phylum blight is changing year to year and within the year also. So we are not sure where the disease comes, where it strikes. So we have to warn the farmers about this appearance, so farmers can take the strategic decision in time, so that they can save their crop on time. And source of resistance is also the good tools of the IPM. We in the many years, year to year, we screen the different level of sources of lentil genotypes, and we have found that this genotype has shown the resistance level, moderate resistance category against the stem phylum blight also. And botanicals also, we have explored some botanicals also. This is Achoromus, calamus, and Xanthum xylem aromatum. But it is in the in vitro condition, and we have to explore. We have not yet explored in the field condition, but in lab condition, it has given the good inhibition for the stem phylum blight pathogen. And again, coming to the chemical fungicides, which is the last tool of the IPM also, we have to use the safe fungicides at the safe dose, and we have to recommend the farmers to use in the current time, so we can save from the disease also. So from there we can see here chlorothalonil has managed the disease and have given the 22% yield increase compared to the no application plot.
Mr. Ayala, I just want to let you know you've got about 2 more minutes.
Thank you. This is the integrated approach for stem phylum blight management. We can see recommended technology, severity is less with the high yield, and farmers practice, we see only the disease severity has increased with the low yield. And this is fusarium wilt. We are working for this also. And this is how we identify the disease in lab condition. And this is, we are working for as it is a soil-borne disease and seed-borne disease also, seed treatment, crop rotation, and sources of genotypes also we are identifying for this disease. Root rot complex, it is increasing. This is how we collect the samples and we look after this sclerotinia. And for the sclerotinia blight, sclerotinia, this is the root rot. We have isolated 8 isolates of trichoderma collected from the different part of the Nepal, and we can see the efficacy of the isolates of the trichoderma. This is Dang isolates, Rampur isolates, Kathmandu isolates. We can see different isolates here, but it is working differently. But we see the isolates of Kapilvastu and Nepalganj have given the good inhibition against the sclerotinia Rolls-Royce pathogen. And this is the lentil root rot management. It is very difficult to identify the source of resistance against the collar rot or root rot disease. But this IL6467 and FLIP, this has given some level of disease incidence, low level compared to other genotypes. And this is the in vitro test of fungicides against the sclerotinia Rolls-Royce pathogen. Mancozeb 500 ppm has given the good inhibition against the sclerotinia Rolls-Royce pathogen. And this is aphid. For aphid, there is also some genotypes identified, and imidacloprid have given the good control over the aphid also. And major weeds also, we have collected major weeds of the lentil. These are also problematic for the farmers also, which causes the good yield loss. And on-station activities, IPM activities, we have practice for the seed production also by treating with trichoderma, rhizobium, and we have major field testing for the different biological products also. On-station demonstration, we can see rhizobium inoculated and control in the different varieties, and which has given the high yield in the rhizobium and trichoderma collected treated seeds. And over the farm station also, we are
Mr.
giving
Aryal,
the IPM practices.
I'm sorry, I just want to let you know we've come toward the end of the time. You will have time in the breakout if there are additional points you'd like to share. Could you please come toward the end of your presentation?
Okay. This is the farm activities. We are showing the demonstration of the rhizobium and trichoderma in the farm level also, and this is how we use the safe use of pesticides and how to spray the pesticides in the farm level. And this is the role of IPM lentil sector, how we can develop the IPM. This is availability of seed on time. Early warning system should be there to identify the early epidemic of the disease, and regular production, demonstration and acceptance of biological products like rhizobium, trichoderma as seed and soil treatment by farmers for maintaining soil and enhancing yield. And this is all about my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Aryal, and again, Mr. Aryal will be in one of the breakout rooms, so that would be a good opportunity to continue that conversation. We'll continue on the topic of pests and integrated pest management with Dr. Muni Muniappan from Virginia Tech University, and Dr. Muniappan will speak on the use of biocontrol agents in lentil IPM. Practice. So Dr. Muniappan, you've got 10 minutes and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen.
It's great. We can see it. Yeah, we can hear you and we can see your presentation.
It is in the presentation mode, so I don't need to change it, right? Okay. Originally when I got the communication, there was a highlighted part in the title. It said biological control, so I thought I should concentrate on biological control. So I prepared an abstract with the title Biological Control of Lentil Insect Pests and Diseases in Nepal. Then later on, I talked to Dr. Deepak Tyagarajan. She said, well, you can also expand a little bit more if you like. So I changed my title. It still shows the same. Is it my slide or is it being shown from your side?
Now it's forward. Now we see insects, pests of lentil.
Okay, this is, since I originally submitted to you, I changed some slides. So this is correct. So let me see.
Dr. Mooney, I am sharing. So if you would like to share, I will stop sharing and you can share your slide.
Yes, please.
Very good. Thank you.
Which one I click? Lentil for Nepal.
Great. Now we see beet armyworm, and it is in presentation mode.
Yes, I need to, okay. So now I modified the title as Management of Lentil Insect Pests and Diseases in Nepal. I realizing that Mr. Ariel will be covering more on the disease side. I thought I will concentrate a little bit more on insect aspect and then touch upon the diseases and then come to the biological control and integrated pest management. So insect pests of lentil, you have sucking insects, aphids, green sting bug, lygus bugs and thrips, chewing insects, cutworm, armyworm, pod borers, leaf miners, and also stored products, pests, the bruchids. Some of the bruchids will also attack the pods in the live crop. Well, aphid is a major pest. Even Mr. Arya mentioned about it. It is a polyphagous pest. Apis craxivora, that species is the most serious one. There's also another species here, Astrocypum pisum, that also occurs. But in Nepal, I think Apis craxivora is the most serious one. It is a polyphagous one, attack all the leguminous crops. And it is also a vector of alfalfa virus, cucumber mosaic virus, lentil tobacco streak virus, bean yellow mosaic virus, and others. So there are several predaceous insects, including lady beetles and chrysopid, those are the occur in the field. If we manage or if we follow conservation biological control, if we don't eliminate the predators and parasites, usually we will be able to manage the aphids to a certain extent. There are also parasites recorded. Those are the Trioxys indicus and Leprolexis scutularis. Also, we can use yellow sticky tabs to monitor as well as to reduce the population of the aphids in the field. The next one is the beet armyworm. It is a polyphagous pest. It will feed on many crops and it will also feed on lentil. It lays eggs in groups and the larvae primarily feed at night, and during the daytime they will be hiding in the soil or in the debris. There are pheromone traps available, so we can set them up and monitor its occurrence in the field and take remedial measures to tackle the pest. Natural enemies, Trichogramma and Telnomus species, these are egg parasites. They could be laboratory produced and released for controlling this pest. Another one is the Agrotis ypsilon, or the black cutworm. This is also a polyphagous pest. The larvae feed on the leaves, stems, and roots of lentil. The older larvae usually cut the plant at the base. There are several parasites are also recorded on this pest. Another one is the lima bean pod borer, Etiella zinculella. It's a small caterpillar. The moth lays single eggs on the plant, and the larvae feed on the soft green parts, and then they get into and feed on the seeds. There are at least 4 parasites have been recorded on this pest. Well, all these lepidopteran pests will have the egg stage, larval stage, pupal stage, and then the adult stage. Green stink bug, it is also a polyphagous one. It occurs all over the world, and both nymphs and adults suck the juice from the leaves, stems, and pods, cause damage. There's a good parasite called Trisulcus basalis, and it occurs in all over Asia and Africa. And if we save this parasite, we can maintain some control of this pest. Bruchids, there are two bruchids. This is Bruchus cervi and Bruchus lentis are serious pests of lentil. The adults feed on nectar and pollen and lay eggs on the young pods. Upon hatching, the larvae penetrate the pod and feed on developing seeds. Usually a single larva is found in the seed, and the larva will remain in the seed and overwinter and come out in the next year. And then the adults will come out from the next year and cause the damage. Diseases of lentil in Nepal, already Mr. Ariel mentioned all the diseases of lentil. Of these foliar diseases, I have listed about a dozen of them. And then also there are some seed-borne ones and virus diseases as well as nematodes. Yes, Mr. Ariel mentioned Stemphyllum blight is the most serious one. And of course, the Fusarium wilt is also a very serious disease. There are two nematodes, reniform nematode and root knot nematode. They are common. I just mentioned about Stemphyllum blight a little bit. Already Mr. Ariel explained about it. This disease was first noted in Bangladesh in 1986. It is serious. It can cause up to 80% damage. And it starts in the upper canopy and slowly migrates down to the lower level and causes quite a bit of defoliation. I think in Nepal, they have already found some resistant varieties. I just picked up from Mr. Ariel's slides. So I'm noting that the variety RL79 and ILL 4605 are resistant to this disease.
Dr. Muniappan, this is Michael, excuse me. I just want to let you know you've got 2 more minutes.
Okay, I will pass a little quickly. So these are some slides of the diseases. Here at the bottom, I show that the nematodes, one is the reniform nematode, another one is the root knot nematode. Then in coming to the IPM, there's, these are different control methods available. We have to look into them and see how we can combine them and come up with the integrated pest management package for lentil. Well, cultural management, these are different techniques that are available for managing some pests and diseases. So because of the time, I will just skip this slide. And then biological control using microbials. In the literature, you can see several bacterial, fungal agents have been identified for controlling some of the insects and diseases. Trichoderma is a very good beneficial fungus that could be used for controlling several diseases, and it is commercially available in Nepal. So because of the time, I'm going to skip this slide too. Well, botanicals, we have neem. Neem trees are there in the terrae, and the neem seeds have the azadirachtin, and that could be used for controlling insect pests. Already Mr. Ariel mentioned that 2 plants, that Xanthosylum and Acorus, could be used for controlling Stemphyllum blight. Well, I come to the augmentative biological control. Already we have established 2 labs in Nepal, one at Kathmandu, another one at Rampur. They produce these 2 egg parasites, Trichogramma and Telnomus. And these parasites will attack all the caterpillar pests. So this is the model we are planning to establish in Nepal, establish a nucleus center at Kathmandu and a subsidiary center at Rampur, and establish other subsidiary centers in the provinces, either using the government centers or government offices or laboratories or private institutions. then produce these parasites and release them in the field. So biological control, augmentative biological control is effective. It does not affect human or environmental health. It also helps in building the human and institutional capacity within the country. And all the money spent on the augmentative biological control, that is capacity building and everything, remains in the country. If you use, say, chemical pesticide, only about 15% of the money stays in the country, or 75 to 85% of the money goes outside the developing country.
Dr. Muniappan, we've come toward the end of the time. Can you come toward the end of your presentation?
This is the last slide. Okay. Use of pheromone traps for monitoring lepidopteran pests are available. Most of the diseases are seed-borne, hence treating with the seed treatment is an option. Trichoderma is a very good agent to treat the seeds, and also we can use other biopesticides for seed treatment. Resistant varieties are also available for for integrating in the pest management. Augmentative biological control as well as conservation biological control techniques are available. Parasite being produced for the fall armyworm could also be used for controlling caterpillar pests in the lentil field. Crop rotation is also an effective tool to reduce the pest and disease incidence. And we have to use lastly need-based synthetic pest chemicals so that we won't disrupt the environment. That's all, Michael.
Dr. Muniappan, thank you for the interesting presentation. And also I want to praise you for your willingness to skip slides as a facilitator trying to keep us on time. It's very helpful when presenters are willing to make those changes on the fly. So thank you. We're going to shift now to the next topic, which is breeding and genomics. And the first speaker of two speakers is going to be Mr. Sandesh Nupane. And he is from the University of Saskatchewan. And Mr. Nupane will discuss advances in lentil breeding and genomics lessons for Nepal. Mr. Nupane, are you ready to present?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just sharing a screen. Perfect. I hope everyone can see my screen now.
Yeah, it looks great.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Special thanks to Dr. Mendendrop to reaching to us and giving us the opportunity to share our experiences and some suggestions based on our global field trials in lentils, which is, we believe, equally applicable to Nepal. So, yes, I'm the first presenter on these sections on breeding and genomics. You might expect a few jargons, those who are not familiar with breeding terms. So, like anywhere in the world, the breeders are willing to increase the genetic variance within the breeding program. So my talk today will be focused on these particular equations and will revolve around our experiences, how it can contribute to these equations in fact. So this is all about the rate of genetic gains, which is the functions of selection intensity, selection accuracy, phenotypic variance, and length of the breeding cycle. So the first and foremost and very challenging as well as very resource demanding is widening the genetic variations within the breeding programs, which could be done by bringing in the new genotypes or conserving the existing ones. So here at the University of Saskatchewan in Canada, what we have in recent years is we do have the diversity panels, which is basically of the cultivated lentils, which is like extensively characterized and now also backed in Icarta gene bank. So we started from like single seed now. We do have few seeds that is in reserve as well. We also have the nested association mapping populations. We have the real populations, like many of the real populations. And we also have working on the interest-specific populations like crossing with the wilds and others. Going forward with increasing the variations, another important factor is genotypings. So what we have, or what we is in cerebral form, is we do have the whole genome assemblies available for the cultivated lentils, as well as other species as well, except nigricans, which is like work in progress. We do have the large markers data set of all those populations that I talked on my previous slides. We also have the SNP sieves, and we have so many experience in working on nanopore and PacBio. Just to let you know, lentil is really interesting crop to work, as well as very challenging, which is also like one of the thing is like lentil has a really big genome, almost like 4.2 GB. So we can expect lots of translocations going around several chromosomes, which is making it really like interesting to the breeders or the geneticists. Another important thing is the selection accuracy. If we select properly the germplasm, then there will be something to work on. So one general approach is to have the multi-locations or multi-parameter replication trials. So specifically to that diversity panel, we had our field trials conducted in 9 different locations, representing all 3 major lentil growing environments in the world, which are kind of differs with the photoperiod and temperature. And so far, we know that the photoperiod and temperature are the major environmental factors contributing to the days to flowering of the lentils. And the days to flowering is one of the major traits defining the adaptations of the crop. Going forward, we also have, or we are working on developing the markers that can be equally applied on while developing the new genotypes or new varieties. So this is kind of one like association studies result from that global field trials, and we're finding some interesting results and with the markers and also some candidate genes. And for this, we're also closely working with the Jim Oehler group at the University of Tasmania for like identifying the flowering time or dissecting the flowering time genetics in the lentils. So another important factors for the selection accuracy as well as the selection intensity is going forward with the high throughput things. Like this one is high throughput phenotyping. So let's say if we go to the field, we see the genotypes, or we see the varieties growing by our own eyes, but we are missing something there. But if we go with the image-based phenotyping, such as let's say drones or other ground-based phenotyping platforms, we can see the things beyond the visible spectral range. So like, and this also helps in developing the new traits which are not in existence before, as for example, crop volume, which can replace the biomass, which needs the destructive harvesting season time if we want to measure. And we found some promising results for these cases as well. But the most important thing here is, as we'll have so many data, like the phenotyping, genotypings, and like even with the high throughput phenotyping, we'll have tons and tons of data. So what we have is we have our own dedicated team and own dedicated platform called Nepals, which is everything for our data backup to the tools that we need. So in Nepals, you can find tools such as BLAST or Genome Browse. And the interesting thing here is we can also back up our data, like the raw data, both phenotypes, genotypes, and everything. Besides, we're also closely working with University of Saskatchewan itself, managed other services for managing or visualizing the imagery data or doing some genomics works, as well as we're also closely working with the Human Interaction Lab here at the University of Saskatchewan to visualize the big data. So so far I just mentioned like what we are doing here and what is the experiences in here. So here comes our suggestions or the lessons that might be useful to Nepalese breeding program. Of course, the first and foremost suggestions would be broadening the genetic variations within the breeding program. Like, yes, for my knowledge is still Nepal breeding program relies on South Asian materials or materials from Micarta, but there are options to include the materials from other parts of the world as well. From our field experiment in Nepal and in the and from the global field experiment, what we found is based on the environmental factors, or including the environmental factors, especially with the phenology, we found Nepal behaves like in between South Asia and in the Mediterranean region. So like it would be worthy to try or test the genotypes from Mediterranean regions as well, in addition to the South Asian. But again, like this comes with some troubles. Like here in Canada, when we grow the South Asian genotypes, it performs really poor as compared to the Canadian genotypes. But in contrast, the Nepalese or South Asian genotypes are flowering so well and even ready to harvest, but Canadian genotypes are thinking about whether to grow or not.
Mr. Nupane, it's Michael. Hi, I just want to let you know you've got just under 2 minutes left.
Perfect, thank you. But for selection of genotypes, we have some recommendations, like going with the clusters we developed, growing with this cluster, which is like early flowering. So better to go with this, not go with the late flowering one. Another suggestions would be adopting new technologies. Might start from simple, very simple, like going with the meter stick, but fixing or attaching barcode on it and taking a barcode so that you can have handy data right away, and applying the imaging technologies. So we made really good progress on using imaging in our breeding programs. Now we can quantify the lentil flowers in the field even, which is a big progress. And it would be awesome to have some markers like gas markers and use it in the breeding program. So my third recommendations would be the expanding of production range, as we are hearing from previous speakers that lentil productions are focused on mostly in Tarai, but you still are growing in mid hills and high hills. We also made one recommendations from which is also published in our in the paper a few months back. So here what we did is using the photothermal models, and by providing the temperature and photo period informations of the particular locations, we can select the genotypes that might perform well in specific regions. So here in this plot, there are a few recommended genotypes for Banke, Kathmandu, and Jumla 1 and Jumla 2, which is in Jumla in high hills. Lentils might be grown in winter as a winter crop, also as a summer crop. These can also help addressing some climate related things as well, but I'll not touch on that things, and waiting for Dr. C to talk about on those things. All these recommendations, I think, is valid to apply and test in the field. We had a plan to test all these genotypes in high hills, but due to several reasons, we couldn't make it. But we are happy to share the materials and our knowledge if anyone wants to test these materials, or even more materials that can be selected with these informations. With this, I would thank my supervisor, Professor Dr. Kristen Bede, and so many other people here at the University of Saskatchewan, and our partners and funders for several projects we have. And these are the few recommended readings if you want to know further, and I'll love to talk more about in our breakout sections as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm smiling because just as my alarm went off, you began to close your presentation. So that was very helpful. And again, all of these materials will be made available either tomorrow or after the program is concluded. So before I turn to the next speaker, I just want to let you know that we'll have one more speaker in this topic of breeding and genomics, and then we'll shift to the selected breakout rooms where you'll have an opportunity to meet with a smaller number of people in one of two different groups. But with that, Mr. Nupane actually mentioned ICARTA in his presentation, and so our next speaker is from ICARTA. And that's Dr. Shivkumar Agrawal. And Dr. Agrawal will speak on lentil breeding strategies for the development of climate-resistant varieties. So, Dr. Agrawal, it's over to you for 10 minutes. Oh, Dr. Agrawal, I think you're on mute. I'll let you know when we can hear you again.
So now it's okay. Can you hear me now?
Great. Now we can hear you, and your slides are also being presented.
Okay.
Although your slides are not yet up, now they're in presentation mode. Perfect.
Okay. So thank you, Michael, and greetings of the day to all of you. And my presentation will focus on the lentil breeding strategy for the development of climate resilient varieties and what are the lessons which we have learned for Nepal. So as you know that, as far as ICARDA is concerned, it is a part of the 1CGIR, which provides, innovative, climate smart and science-based solution that improves rural family farming and livelihood regions, mainly for Africa, Asia, and Middle East. And our, target environment is non-tropical dry region, where we, which accounts for almost 35% of the world agricultural land, on which depends the 2 billion people, livelihood. As far as Nepal is concerned, our major focus is on rain-fed systems, agro ecosystems, and that is mainly prevalent in the Terai region and mid-hill regions. So I will be talking about more of that region. As far as ICARDA is concerned, you can see in this slide that we have, we have our breeding programs, operational at 4 locations. That is mainly on Morocco, Lebanon, Syria, and India. As far as Nepal is concerned, we are providing our nurseries from Morocco as well as India. And when we go for the stage 2 yield trials, that is where the Nepal comes in the picture, where we provide them our international nurseries, our national partners in Nepal, they evaluate them in different locations, and the best material which is there in the international nurseries are taken either directly as a varieties, or they are taken into the breeding programs as a one of the parents. If you see the historical genetic gains which we have made in the ICARDA lentil programs, one can see that we have contributed to the development of 165 varieties which have been released in 33 countries. As far as Nepal is concerned, where 14 varieties are released, 11 has come from the direct release of our international nurseries. In the last 10 years, we have released around 40 varieties in 14 countries. And as far as Nepal is concerned, we have released 3 varieties there. And these varieties are not only high yielding, but also very early in maturity. They are also having resistance to some of the major diseases. At the same time, they are also enriched in micronutrients. That is how they become one of the most success story for Nepal. But then the question comes, what is the genetic gain which we have made over the years? We have done a kind of historical analysis, and we found that across the countries, our genetic gain has been very poor, around 0.4 to 0.8% per year. And that is not sufficient to meet the future demands. And then these gains has come mainly from either increasing the biomass or the seed size and improving the harvest index. If we have to meet the future demands, then we have to accelerate our genetic gain, and that has to be around 1.5%. So if you just see the contribution of those 14 varieties which have been released in Nepal, one can see in the last 1 decade, there has been a productivity gains, 70% increase in the production. And that 70% increase in production has come mainly because of the productivity gain from 800 to 1200 kg per hectare. At the same time, around 25,000 hectare area, more area has been brought under lentil. But then the problem, the present productivity is good, 1200 kg per hectare. If I take into account the kind of production system these varieties are put in, if you see that almost 45% as a sole crop, 32% as a mixed crop, and 23% as a daily crop. And that is where the major challenges that if you see when you take up those varieties, these are the major challenges which are there. The first thing is the perception of a risky proposition with low profitability when the farmers go for lentil cultivation. That's why he does not invest in growing a successful lentil crop in the farm. Second is the frequent drought and waterlogging. As a result, what happens is a very poor plant population. Then, of course, disease is also there, and depending on whether we are growing lentil in upland or lowland, depending on then one can see the diseases like fusarium wilt, stingflium blight, and rust. That is how the farmers are not having confidence that they will be able to harvest the yield which we promised to them when they go for the high yield varieties. For me, these are the major issue for Nepalese farmers. When I visit their farms and when I interact, and then the field are full of the weeds. So how we can do that? Their field is free from the weeds. Nowadays we have come out varieties which are having herbicide tolerance, and then they can go for the post-emergent herbicide application to control them. Then another one is the poorly adopted variety. As I mentioned, that lentil is being grown in different system like sole cropping, then relay cropping and mixed cropping. But then the variety which are coming are the outcome of the conventional breeding programs. And here we do not take into account the challenges the crop is going to face in the mixed as well as relay cropping. So that's how they do not perform well when they are put into those kind of production system. Then poor variety replacement is also another very big issue. Though we have released 14 varieties in the last 40 years, and still you can see the most popular varieties are released around 20 years before. It means these varieties and old varieties are still there in the farmer's field. Then comes the low seed replacement rate, 3 to 4%, and that really shows that the adoption of our improved variety is very, very poor. Then the reason is that mainly because there is an insufficient formal seed system, and that's how there's a need for informal and private seed sector to chip in to give more quality seeds available to the farm. So keeping that in mind, then we have made some kind of paradigm shift in our breeding programs so that we can cater to the need of our national partners in Nepal. First is the paradigm shift is about market-oriented breeding product profiles. CARDA has gone through this BPET analysis to see what are the challenges and what are the actually problems or area of improvements and the investment, and so that we can come out with the market-oriented breeding product profiles, so to cater to the need of the well-defined target population ornaments. And then one can see here in South Asia, these are some of the traits which are our focus, like a small red lentil. It has to be early as well as resistant to wilt, rust and stem flea blight. Of course, tolerance to drought and heat is also very important. And then we go for the biofortified varieties. So if you can see that, for South Asia, when we take country Nepal as focus, then our ecosystem is the rice-based, and the variety which we want to replace is the Khajura 2 and 1. And then the first important trait is the short duration. And when we are talking about these two varieties, which are being grown by the farmers, then we want to know why these farmers are growing these varieties. And we also try to involve those farmers who are not growing these varieties. Why? And then we want to know the reason why they are not growing. Once we have the input from these different stakeholders, including the millers, then we know that there are certain traits. If we add these traits into the new varieties, then these varieties will also be taken, like resistant to stem blight. They have to have tolerance to drought and waterlogging. And that's how we are now coming out with a different kind of breeding product profile from Nepal.
Dr. Argwal,
Yes.
it's Michael. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know you've got just under 2 minutes left.
So the second paradigm shift is the rapid breeding cycle, so that we can come out with a variety faster than earlier. For that, what we do, that we take the elite germ class, not from the release one, but from the yield trials, which are doing based on the extensive genotypic and phenotypic characterization. Once we have that, then our disco breeding, which is dependent on elite process, makes more efficient and making our breeding cycles very rapid. Third one is that we have shifted from shuttle breeding to speed breeding. Earlier we used to take 2 generations per year. Nowadays we are taking 4 to 5 generations per year. So earlier we used to come out with the finished products in 12 to 14 years. Now one can have a finished products in 5 years for testing in the farmer's field. Then finding the hidden cross. Nowadays, our breeding program is based on elite incubators so that we are able to have the potential, those kind of parents, the best combiners, so that we have a different kind of positive alleles together in the new lines, so that we have a kind of transcriptive segregant. Of course, visual selection remains very important in the field, where we go very frequently to make selection based on early vigor, plant type, disease reaction, seed size, and of course seed color and seed coat and milling traits becomes very, very important. That's how now we have some of the products like machine harvested, herbicide tolerant lentil varieties, which are available for the testing in the Nepal agroecologies. And one can see, keeping all those things in mind, now our genetic gain in lentil yield trials are as high as around 2.65. So as you know that in Nepal, most of the farmers are still growing this organic agriculture, and there's a big huge gap, almost 23% penalty. So if we have to go for the improved varieties, then we have to go with the improved agronomy. Then we can realize the genetic potential of those varieties. Then participative variety selection is very, very important, and some of the lines farmer selects, they can give as high as 30% yield gain. And the major lesson we have learned is that developing breeding product profile with market research really help to deliver the right product to the right market and agroecology. Lentil breeding for local adaptation, including specific cropping patterns like sol versus mixed versus relay, are very, very important. So then we have to make our breeding programs for specific agroecology. Then monitoring the genetic gain of breeding programs really help us to provide a kind of opportunity to bring the required modification in our breeding programs. Then rapid breeding cycle and farmers party selections helps to improve variety replacement rate. Then informal seed system for newly released varieties really help to improve the varieties and seed replacement rate. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. So I would like to thank different partners as well as the donors who are contributing to this research. Thank you very much.
Dr. Agarwal, thank you so much for your presentation. And that was the last of the individual presentations for today's program. There will be a panel discussion at the very end of our day. But right now, we're going to turn to the breakout rooms. So in your breakout rooms, you'll have some specific instructions, but I will just add some general instructions now. Shortly, you will have an opportunity to select which breakout room you would like to attend. One of the breakout rooms is on pest management, IPM, with Mr. Laxman Aryal and Barry Pittendry. The other one will be on breeding, led by Dr. Balkrishna Joshi and by John Medendorp. So you will select one of those groups. The breakout rooms will be open for about 20 minutes, and this will be an opportunity for you to be unmuted and for you to actually have a discussion. A very important aspect here is that there will be a note taker there, and the note takers will capture as much as possible the different comments and perspectives that are shared there. And those comments and perspectives that are captured will be the basis for sharing back tomorrow by members of the Legume Lab of what they heard. And you'll have an opportunity to continue to add input on those recommendations or on those priorities. Let me see what else I can share. Yeah, so when you get into the group, your moderators will give you additional instructions. And my last guidance will be, even though they are smaller groups, they're still large discussion groups. So please do your best to share the space and make sure that all who want to have an opportunity to share their perspectives. And so with that, I would like you to direct your attention to the bottom of your Zoom screen. And as you see on the screen, you'll click on the icon that says breakout rooms. When you click on that, a pop-up box will appear where you can select the room that you'd like to participate in, and you will enter that room, and you will automatically be returned to this main room at the end of the time. And at any point, if you're having difficulty or you can't get into your breakout room, just use the chat, either an announcement to everyone, or you can specifically select Legume Lab, and we'll help you to get into the right room. So with that, I'd like to invite you to join your room by clicking on the breakout room icon at the bottom of your screen. And if you have any problems, just let us know in the chat. Have a great next session. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the main group. So I know that we all wish there was more time right now to continue the discussion, but I hope the beginnings of those discussions were very fruitful. As a reminder, notes were taken of your discussions in the breakout rooms. And if you have additional things that you'd like to share now that are on your mind, you can definitely use the chat, either sending a message to the entire group to share your perspective, or you can address it directly to the Legume Lab. These comments and perspectives are going to be captured, and tomorrow we'll hear some summaries and some recommendations based on what you've said. So we really want to encourage you to make your voice heard, even if that is in the chat. We're going to turn now to the last part of the day, which will be a panel presentation of some speakers that you've already heard and others that you have not yet. That panel will be on agronomic and climate and related solutions for lentil in Nepal. And your panelists are Dr. Tika Bahadur Karki from NARC, Dr. Rajendra Durai from the Grain Legumes Research Program, Mr. Ramkrishna Nupane from the University of Saskatchewan, Dr. Moin Salam from the University of Western Australia, Dr. Minawasti Devkota from ICARDA, and the panel itself will be moderated by Dr. Shiv Kumar Agrawal, also from ICARDA. So Dr. Agrawal, let me turn the floor over to you for the panel presentation, which will be the last part of our program today.
Thank you, Michael. I think now, I'm very happy that very clear-cut, questions are given to these panel, members. So anyway, I welcome, to all of you for this panel discussion on this agronomy and climatic related solution for lentil in Nepal. So today's panel is including very well-known 4 plant scientists with rich experience on different fields of agriculture in general and lentil in particular. The members are Dr. Tika Bahadur Karki, R.K. Nupane, Moin Salam, Rajendra Rai, and Meena Devkota. As all of us know that you can develop a good varieties, but then if you want to realize its genetic potential, we must have to have a good agronomic practice. Otherwise, if you do not have that, then realizing the genetic potential in farmers' field is a real challenge. And even different studies have shown that even on-farm trials, there's a kind of 35 to 65% yield gap with farmers technology and in the improved technology. And there is one study which says that lentil producing farm in Nepal are only 41% efficient with wide variability. So therefore, I will ask 1 or 2 questions, and each panel member will have 2 to 3 minutes to answer. So the first question I would pose for Dr. Tika Bahadur Karki and to Nupane, and each can take 2 minutes. So what are the major agronomic challenges and barriers for lentil producer in Nepal? I would like to let us hear from these 2. Dr. Karki.
Dr. Karki, can you unmute your microphone?
Sorry. Actually, the moisture is one of the most
limiting factors in lentil production, that is excessive moisture at the time of planting, and excessive moisture during the entire growth period is hampering the production of the lentil in our cases. And sometimes you see the acute shortage of moisture also. So this moisture is the only limiting factors. I think that's the one of the most important factor, and the because of this, it has limited the plant population in under both the condition, relay as well as the normal cropping system condition. And then we don't have the adequate research done so far for the conservation agriculture based technologies like machines for like the seed drill and seed cum fertilizer drill machines. That's not available for entire ecologies of lentil production in our context. And the low quality seeds that is available for the farmers is another aspect. I think these are the major issues that needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. The same question is for Dr. Nupani, that what are the major economic challenges, barriers for lentil producer in Nepal?
Yeah, thank you very much. To add to the statements of Dr. Karki, I would like to say that this, as far as lentil productivity agronomic constraint is concerned, planting time is the most important. In our system, lentil planting is delayed due to several reasons, to the cropping patterns. For example, lentil is planted after the long duration paddy, which is harvested very late. So by the time the land is prepared, it will be already December. So in that scenario, there is no question of getting high productivity. So the most important point is we have to concentrate on medium or early rice varieties to grow if we want to have better production of lentils. Therefore, this is challenging. Even the government has to put these efforts to grow more early or medium type of varieties. If that is grown, then already yes, lentil would be planted in proper time, and it will have more vegetative growth, and it will mature before the temperature cuts off. So this is one point. That is planting time. That is delayed planting is the major constant. We have to delay this. The other thing that in the waterlogged condition or in lowland, very low land, which cannot be drained, drainage system is there. Show varieties suitable on that condition. I don't know whether it is possible or not. That has to be put in practice by research. If we can select varieties somewhat tolerant to those conditions, this is one thing. And also the varieties that are resistant to terminal drought or high temperature. This is one thing. And coming again to the agronomic practice, more than 40% of about 40% of the lentil is grown under maize lentil system, and that is mixed with mustard, brassica compostis. And the brassica compostis is harvested earlier, and only lentil is left to grow as such. So in that condition, the plant shows symptoms of nutrient deficiency. So there is no technology standardized for foliar application or application of nutrients under the condition for mixed cropping condition in maize system. Similarly, we have problem of mechanization in that for timely planting of lentil. There is no suitable equipment, that is access of farmers to equipments so that they can plant the seed earlier.
Thank you, Doctor.
And productivity. Yeah.
Thank you.
These
Thank
are
you.
the major problems. Yeah.
Okay. So now I have another questions, to Dr. Moin Salam and Dr. Darai, that how useful to have climate forecast services for lentil production, and what are the prospects and challenges of such services to Nepalese lentil farmers? So these are my questions to Dr. Moin Salam, and I give you 3 minutes each. 3 minutes to Dr. Moin Salam and 3 minutes to Dr. Darai. Please. Dr. Salam.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. Right at this moment, climate-focused services will be very useful in Nepal for specific areas of lentil production. For example, dealing with the diseases. As Dr. Darai and Lakshman have highlighted in their presentation, that productivity is severely affected by Staphylococcus blight disease, so causing yield loss to 60, even 80% in severely infected crops. So the management of this disease through manipulation of genotypes is still limited, as the full resistance of the disease variety is not available yet. To do that, the pathologists suggest calendar-based expensive fungicide control and for the high-yielding crop varieties. However, this is not always profitable because severity of the disease is driven by weather, varies between the years within a location, and between the locations within a year, and also varies due to the time of onset of the monsoon or onset of the disease, as Lakshman pointed out. Now, weather-driven models can address these uncertainties of disease development and address economic control decisions of the disease if the fungicide application is needed or not needed at all. So during the last 5 years, working with the CIMIT and Dr. Darai's team, NGLRP, we have developed a model called Stemperia, and we calibrated and validated through multi-country, including Nepal, multi-location and multi-year, large-scale farmers field survey. So under Southeast Asian conditions. Now we have moved into development of the weather forecast-driven early warning system for the disease. The early warning system has great prospect for precision application on time, no less, no excess frequency of fungicide for controlling the stem phylum disease. The challenges are availability of location-specific and weather parameter-specific weather forecast data, ideally with the week's lead time. And secondly, promptly disseminating the advisory to the lentil farmers. And thirdly, as required, availing the right fungicides through agrochemical retailers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I think now, Meena, no, Dr. Darai, can you very brief?
Sure. Yeah, yes, climate forecast is very, very useful. As already mentioned, Dr. Moin Salam. But one thing is problem in our DHM forecast has only the 1 week. They can forecast 1 week. If have there any provision for 1 month, 2 months more, forecast, then farmers will be get benefited. That is the one thing. But in case of disease management, yes, as Moin Salam is very much useful. That is also already, we sensitize to the farmers and then like that. Besides this, in Nepalese condition, another is also problems of, there is not good media to convey this forecast, message to the farmers. So that is also problems. I think even the local government, they should take this issue so that they can provide services to the farmers too also.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
So now the third question is about what are the challenges of adopting ergonomic technology, and this question is to Meena and Dr. again, to Dr. Karki, Tika Bahadur Karki. So I would like first Meena to respond to this, what are the challenges of adopting technologies.
Thank you, Dr. Rasif. And yes, now I think we have discussed a lot about the challenges lentil has. So, I mean, it's still, I would say the number one is still farmers don't see the economic incentives of with lentil because it has a really big challenge. I mean, it's risk, it's high risky. And I agree, Dr. Moin, that lentils should be like at least, maybe not in 4 years, but at least there should be gap if we have good climatic forecast services. So another challenges I have seen that definitely most of the farmers who are, I mean, there are some commercial, but mostly Nepal who grows lentil are subsistence farmer. So they have still like economic, they have, one is risk and another is still they have a problem with economics like investment, for buying the imports. And another thing I have seen in lentil that lot of priorities even from government, I will say even from the other sectors, lot of priority has given for the major cereals, I mean the food crops. But in lentil, I mean, maybe it has been developed well, but my understanding is still package of practices are as overall. It can apply. We can see that how many types of cropping systems farmers are adopting for lentil. That Dr. Nepane sir has mentioned that, see, it has grown in different variety of location, variety of cropping systems, and different ways. Some are doing relay, some are doing mixed cropping, some are doing in hills after maize, So several cropping systems are there. So it is hard to have a compile one technology to works, and this is really lacking. I think that now the Grain Legume program has been increased and some organization, I mean, is increasing. But my suggestion is we need site-specific context, not only site-specific, but context-specific technologies, bundling this out. I mean, there are a lot of research has been done from different aspects since long. Okay. But we need to bundle the solution technology for context specific. And another thing is definitely cropping system wise technology is very important, as we have like a very high percentage of relay seeding, mixed cropping, all these things. So these are missing. And another thing is still timely availability of input is still a problem. As I said, there is a fungicide, disease is coming. So still this is not available. So we need a very, very rightly working together to get this availability.
Thank you.
I think these are social, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Meena. Thank you. So now I will request Dr. Karki to have 1 minute only, just to.
Thank you, sir. Everything has been covered by Dr. Meena, so I think no need to explore on that area. But I want to specifically mention over here that we don't have adequate research and technologies in hand for the farmers for appropriate time of planting, seed selection, seed framing, and seed inoculation, as well as different what type of soil to be planted for lentil, and moisture management, as well as the drainage that we face the problem, especially at the time of flowering and at harvesting. And another aspect that we are not looking after is the weed management. That is very serious. Integrated nutrient management, as well as the integrated pest management. These are the common technologies to be developed for the lentil production and its promotion, as well as one very little thing that is ignored to date is foliar application. I think in case of lentil, we have to go for a foliar application of nutrients. That's not a very tough technology, but need to be gone through the farmers through different awareness programs. So I think these are some of the specific technologies to be added on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Karki.
Dr. Agrawal, excuse me, this is Michael. I want to say from one moderator to another, you're doing a wonderful job with this group of experts. I also do want to tell you, we only have 4 more minutes. So just 4 more minutes for the panel.
Okay, we will finish that. Thank you, Michael. So now I just very specific question to all of you. Very brief, just to the point. No, here and there. What should be the role of stakeholders, public as well as private, to promote lentil-based agronomic technologies? Please, any one of you. Very, very specific. No, like to the point. Yeah, please. Any one of you? Dr. Karki, anything to add?
Actually,
Dr. Karki.
I think Ramkrishna sir, please.
Dr. Newpani.
Yeah, I think government or private sectors, other development workers, they should support for the production and dissemination of seeds of lentil, because we see that about 20% of the yield is increased only by replacing the seeds. So there is very poor access of seeds among the farmers. The formal sector, the government sector cannot supply all the seeds to 6.6 million growers. So it is the role of private sectors and other development actors to take responsibility of producing and supplying seeds to the growers. Yeah, that's one thing.
Thank you. Meena, very specific.
Yes. Yeah, I still want to emphasize that we need from both government and private sectors that bundling the agronomic solutions for different agroecology, I would say different environment. This is a must. Bundling and taking to the farmer whatever we have and find the technology gap, what is still need to be developed. So this is a really must for scaling this. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, sir.
Yeah, please.
Still, our stakeholders, even seed companies, seed cooperative, they are still following traditional, farming system. They don't know our technical know-how. So that is the unless and until they apply our others agronomic technologies, we cannot boost up the lentil production. So our stakeholders, they should follow our recommended technologies so that they could achieve some good yield. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
One more thing, sir. Yeah. I think output-based subsidy system must be there from the government side to the lentil growers. That's the one of the limiting factors. Output-based subsidy.
Okay.
So another thing is that in mega changer project, game changer project, government they not focus. Our system is that our stakeholders they are producing even cereal crop, rice, lentil, rice, maize, wheat. It's due to the fund. They got funds from the government or international organization. So that is also the factors. They do not adopt this our technologies.
Okay, so now finally to Dr. Salam. Anything?
Thank you. Yeah.
And then, excuse me, after Dr. Salam, Dr. Agrawal, yours will be the last word, and then we'll close the panel.
Okay.
After Dr. Salam, please.
Okay, thank you. The public extension system in Nepal is very poor. So even the information dissemination, we find a lot of difficulties to disseminate information. So if we can do something like engaging, the local service providers or something like that into and channel the information through those systems, so that will be very useful. So that's my point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much for giving very good answer to the question posed to all of you. So Michael, do you want me to summarize the input or what I received, or I should add into that?
Well, we're just at the end of time, so we could do either a very brief remark from you, or we'll just move to the close of the day.
Yeah. I think the most of the answers or input we have got from the panel members is that we have to come out with a kind of package of agronomic practices which can really close the gap between improved varieties when we take up in the research field and what we take up in the farmers field. So there's a big gap, and then how to manage the plant population that can be poor because of the soil moisture or because of the late planting or because of the waterlogging. That has to be taken care of. That's very important. And then another thing is that when we have these forecast models, I think that requires a kind of more that information should be available to the farmers through social media or maybe some kind of either you have some kind of apps which provides to the farmers that information at least 15 days or 1 month before. So the farmers prepared for that, he can get the inputs from the local market system. And then of course I really there's a need for not only having a kind of package globally. We have to be very context specific, location specific, and cropping system specific. That's very important to really close the yield gaps. Of course, there's a need for.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Agrawal. Pardon me for cutting you off. I really want to thank you and the rest of the panelists for closing the day in such an interesting way. We have come to the end of day one, but as you know, we have day two to look forward to at 4:45 Nepal time. And for another rich day of programming, just a few housekeeping notes. The agenda for today and tomorrow is available in the chat. You will access tomorrow's meeting with the same link that you used today. And also, right now we're opening up a couple of breakout rooms just in the event that people would like to talk with each other. If we were all in person, we could just walk outside the room and talk. But since we're not, we have these breakout rooms for anyone who would like to enter them. If you'd like to send a direct message to someone to meet in those rooms, then you can do that. And again, if there's something that you weren't able to say or to share in the chat, while the perspective is on your mind, we certainly encourage you to share that perspective or that recommendation in the chat so that it can be captured for tomorrow's meeting. With that, I really want to thank everyone for their engagement and their participation, and we want to wish you a great rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye to you all for today.
Thank you, everyone.
Michael,
do you want to say something about the breakout room?
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, just to reiterate once again, the new breakout rooms are now open in the bottom of your screen. If you would like to talk with anyone or see who's in the breakout rooms for open discussion, you can click out on the breakout room icon in the bottom of your Zoom window and see who's there. You can also send someone a direct message to encourage them to meet you in a breakout room. So those are available for you now if you click on that.